Welcome back to Where Are They Now podcast. My guest today is a member of Big Break 6. First aired in September of 2006. She was also a contestant on the Reunion at Reunion, I think is what they called it, in Reunion. It's not Reunion, Florida. It was in Orlando, Florida, at the Reunion Resort and Club there. And that one was a makeup of men and women from the first 6 seasons, which is really cool. We're not going to talk about that one today, though. And here's the reason why. And I think I'm almost convinced, Ashley, right before we started this interview, to be one of the panelists on this. We're going to do a live Q&A with you guys, and we're going to stream it. And we're looking for that at the end of July. Should be really fun. And we're just going to have a bunch of the Reunion folks pop in and talk to them and answer all your questions. So stay tuned for that.
I don't know if you have enough time to do that.
That's true. That is absolutely true. The one we're going to talk about today is Big Break 6. That was filmed in Los Angeles, California at Trump National Golf Club. You might have heard of him. And this player, great personality, great course demeanor, tons of talent, bombs, drives. I mean, and by the way, I'm not sure that layup is in her vocabulary. It's just like go for it and really aggressive player. But you know what? I mean, we're going to talk about it, but that's how she played. And so why change it? I don't need to hit a 7-iron 150 yards to a wedge. Not just grab the 3-wooding. Let's go.
It's boring, doesn't it?
That's right. It sounds boring. So I am real happy to have her join the show. Ashley Gomes Kettman, welcome to Where Are They Now podcast.
Thanks for having me.
We're excited. We're going to jump right into the quick hitters.
Okay.
And viewers and listeners know this is for them. It's all of their stuff. So Mike from Baltimore asks, Ashley, on Big Break, was it more of a mental or physical struggle?
So I think it was actually both. If I had to choose, I would say mental. But after we were done shooting, we then had to go back, get dressed, and go into interviews until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And then we had to be up and ready to go at breakfast at 6 the next day. So I think it took a toll on both. But, everyone's always tired, right? You get used to it. But I think the mental aspect was a little bit stronger than the physical.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the response that we've been getting is people just saying, look, it was physically draining. We're up early in the morning. And like you said, we got, Jackie Soldier was just telling us that, it depends on your interview spot at night for the interviews, right? Some people are getting in bed at midnight.
Right.
That's a real good segue into Brian's question from Little Rock, Arkansas. He was asking, what did you do at night? I bet the old men went to bed early, but after all a long day, did everybody go to bed early or did you guys hang out?
A little bit of both. I mean, I guess we would all hang out waiting for our interviews. For the most part, we went to bed though, because it was late and we knew we had to get up early the next day. So everyone kind of went to bed.
Got it. After you, this is an interesting question. Mike from Framingham, Massachusetts wants to know, after you were eliminated, what did you do? And Mike gives some choices that you can answer or not answer. He said, did you play golf? Did you day drink? And did you go shopping in Rodeo Drive? Those were his 3 suggestions.
Well, the day I got eliminated, I walked into the clubhouse and Laura London was waiting for me with a double vodka. I got so drunk the day that I was eliminated that they couldn't even interview me. They tried. It just didn't work.
Yeah. That's great.
And so, I mean, how else am I going to cope? So the following day, we got to go play golf. We were not allowed to go shopping. You had to be like chaperoned because no one was allowed to know whether you were eliminated or not, but we could go to the golf course. So everybody who was still competing went their way, and the people who, you could stay at the hotel or you could go play golf. So I went and played golf. Makes
sense. That's what I would prefer to do.
Yeah.
Did you know anyone on the show when you arrived? That's a question from Steve from Oak Brook, Illinois.
Yeah, I knew, I'm trying to think, 6. I think I knew most of the girls, except for Laura London, because most of the girls were all on the Future Store together. And I think Laura and, I can't remember her name, the beauty pageant. I think those are the only 2 that I didn't know previously from playing golf in some way.
Got it. That's a good segue into, what was that, Steve? Scott. I'm sorry, Scott from San Diego. Did you get close to anyone on the show, and are you still connected today?
Yes. See, Laura London and I, after everything we were still playing, we lived together in Scottsdale. She was at my wedding. I still talk to Bree frequently. I love her. That's the beauty of social media, obviously. But I think even without that, we would have stayed in contact. And I think on my show, like, that's about it for who I talk to still regularly.
Got it. Quick programming note, because we're going to work your questions as we go and talk to Ashley about her journey and through the challenges and then on to what she's doing today. We're going to work some of your questions in there. We had so many questions, we might as well do it there and just instead of just pounding her with questions here. Quick programming note, if you want to get your questions answered by your favorite Big Break star during our quick hitter segment, just send them over to us at Where Are They Now podcast on everything, Twitter and Instagram and at Gmail, and on our website at wherearetheynowpodcast.com. In coming episodes, lots and lots of people: Pam Garrity from Ladies Only, Cindy Miller from Ladies Only, Andy Walker and Ray Bowfills, and Brian Cooper from Greensbrier, and like I mentioned, Jackie Stolting, the winner of Florida, and many more. Murphy is coming on, and Mark Silvers is coming on. So, I mean, I'm delivering for you guys, and it's just, just give me some props. So Ashley, let's start this journey. Were you a Big Break fan? Did you watch any of the early episodes? Tell me a little bit about that.
I can't say I was a fan. Like, some of the people come on and they're trying to guess what challenge we have for the day. I wasn't a fan like that. I watched, I think the first one I watched was the Kanapali. Was that 5? Because I traveled a lot with Ashley Prang.
Okay.
So that was really the only reason for me to watch and kind of see what was happening with the show and all the excitement from it. But I didn't really watch it before then.
Got it. I think Kanapali was 8.
Okay, so what
Hawaii,
was the first, what was Hawaii?
Yeah. Oh, Ashley won Hawaii, actually.
Yeah. Was that 4 or 5?
That's 5.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Good deal. And then you find out, so let's take it from there. We get people on here. Jackie, for example, she knew every episode. You talk about Don Donatelli and you talk about, I said, well, 1 was filmed back and you could tell we were comparing that back in the early seasons, they were getting nationwide exemptions. That's it. No money, for challenges. And you guys, even your season, I mean, you guys really were building the foundation of what was going to be this mammoth, mega show as you went. I mean, it was unbelievable. But she was a fan. She was watching the Ladies Only. She was watching the number 2. She didn't have a real recollection of number 1, and I was drilling her on that. So tell us about how you got to try out. Did you see one at a mini tour somewhere, or how does that work?
So I don't know. So the Golf Channel, I don't know if, like, when we got to a tournament and we were checking in, there was a thing saying the Golf Channel was going to come to interview or audition if you were interested. I'm guessing that's kind of how it went back then. So you signed up for the day, which was before the tournament actually started. So the tournament starts on Thursday. So I would say it was like a Tuesday when they were coming. So I signed up. I had been in a Pro-Am. I was in Orlando. I'd been in a Pro-Am the day before, and which you had to do for for the Futures Tour. And afterwards, a bunch of girls and I ended up across the street at this bar. And, you know, we were karaokeing and had the time of our lives. And so I showed up to my interview. It sounds like I'm an alcoholic. I showed up to my interview totally hungover and talking about how we had been dancing on tables and you know, but I could still hit the golf ball. So I think that they kind of liked the wild.
That combo, yeah.
The
really,
wild side.
get her on TV right away. She's a great golfer and she's hungover. That's cool. So let's shift gears a little bit before we actually get into the competitions. One of the themes when I started this series with the big breakers, if you will, was pressure. And I've talked to everybody, champions of big break, people that are, you know, that participated and did well, that didn't do so well. And Brian Cooper said something really interesting in his interview. He said, you know, I asked him, was there any regrets of big break? And he said, just one, that I was playing better going in. He said he actually sat down the first day they got there. They sat down to eat lunch or dinner. I don't remember which. And he was sitting straight across from Mark Silvers. And Mark said he's excited about this because he's never been playing better. And Mark goes on to win Greenbrier. Mm-hmm. Brian was thinking, I can't get the lefts out of my driver. You know what I mean? I can't, everything's going left. And that's what happened, exactly what happened to him in the show. And Mark said that in the interview. I told him that story and he said, Brian told me that he kept yanking his driver. And again, he was a final fourth guy, I think, but that just put him away. The pressure though is really what I want to talk to you about. Is it's not only the fact that they get these talented people. I say the first story to say that even the people on your show that might have not looked like they're great, I always hear, look, I played a practice round with him or her. Believe me, they can play, right? Or even there's been people that hold the ball that weren't the greatest people in the world, right? Did a flop shot and put it in the hole after that. And they didn't even get, you know, they were third out. Right. So the talent level is one pressure. The other pressure is the fact that it is a show and there's cameras everywhere and you're the only one shooting it. There's not two people shooting at the same time. There's one person, all eyes on them. You know it's going to be on TV eventually. So that's another component. And the last one that's really, well, there's weather and there's other things. You know, Mark Murphy was saying it was 50 degrees and 50 mile an hour winds in Ireland. And he was sitting on a bench freezing cold. That was a factor, I guess. The other one that really came out to me and was a little bit eye-opening was the fact that it's the production. Don't forget that you take a shot, go sit down, and you might not stand back up for 90 minutes. Totally. And that is, I forget who actually said that to me. I think it might have been Charlie Harrington in Myrtle Beach. He said, and I was like, wow, I didn't even consider that. So go take one flop shot over a flop ball or try to break glass and then have a seat for an hour and a half. Wow. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that, your experience with that.
Well, so I think you kind of hit the nail on the head because we would get up, have breakfast, and get to the course. And, you know, they would just warm up, tell you to go warm up. They don't say like, oh, go hit some bunker shots or do this. They just tell you to warm up, right? So I would always just do like a normal warm up like I was going to play in a tournament, right? So I start at the range and then work my way to hit a couple chip shots, bunker shots, putt, and then we would go. But we always would say like, you just warm up to wait. Because then we get out there, you see what's happening for the day, whether it's a flop shot or glass, or if you're playing a hole, but it's not like you get to practice it. And then they're trying to get the angles right, and they're trying to get the cameras right, and they're trying to get the boom right. And you sit there for 45 minutes after you've just warmed up. So it was pretty much pointless by the time it was your time to go. Because then Vince and Stephanie have to talk, and they have to lead it in, and you know, somebody screws up a line, so we could be sitting there for 25 minutes listening to them trying to talk to us. And so the first day of shooting, I don't know if we were on the 17th hole or the 8th, I don't know, we were up high on a tee box and we're hitting down to a hole, like a kind of like a half wedge shot. And you know, I don't want to say I got lucky, but I got closest to the hole and I was done for the day. Was
that the first day when you guys were up on that cliff?
First day.
I remember that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't touch a club for the rest of the day, and which was great. But everybody else who did, they have to wait, and then we're going somewhere else, and they don't get to warm up again.
Are you part of that group? Are you back at the hotel laying poolside?
No, I had to stay and watch the whole time.
Oh, I mean, you might have almost rather. I mean, you're safe. I get that, but you kind of probably wanted to play a little bit too.
Well, right. You kind of want to keep your game sharp, and then like that's just not an option. So like after lunch, you could hit balls with everybody, but I couldn't be like, wait, everyone's done. Can I try it now? Like you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, somebody was telling me, Big Mike Foster. Mike Foster told me that he won immunity, and the next thing they did was the glass break. So
right.
I had to go back. Yeah, I had to go back and watch his episode, and he's standing there with a towel around his neck. You know, they were in Vegas for his, and he's holding on to it. And I said, Mike, you didn't even get to pick, like off camera at the end, pick one up and take one shot. He goes, no, they wouldn't let us. They wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
So
it is the pressure of it is funny. I always said that I felt like I had to pee the entire time. Like you're just nervous and you're anxious. And
is that from the drinking, or that's not okay?
But no, you're just like your body is like hyper aware of what's going on, and like you said, that it's going to be on TV and everything else going around you. So
interesting. You know. One other component before we get into the actual, we're going to do a little word association with Ashley, and then we'll talk about the events, and then we'll find out what she's doing today. But I wanted to talk about this with you as well. Would you say that this statement is true? That some people, no, all contestants want to win, some have to win?
Yes.
So let me give you my example for this. Jackie said in her episode, I apologize for keep mentioning Jackie, but we just interviewed. She was saying that she was almost sick to her stomach. She was nauseated at the finals because she had to wait for two people, Renee and Mary, to finish to find out if she was going to be in the finals. Not Mary, Fiamma. And she was literally, nauseated. And she said it was nerves. It was because of all the work that I put in. I was laser focused. I had a goal. Don Donatello, same thing. He was so emotional. He was shaking. He was, he just felt that way. Cindy Miller just wanted to prove to herself she could still play after 25 years of being off the LPGA tour, and that was enough for her. She walked away. Charlie Harrington, who I can make an argument that was probably the best player. In my view, which means nothing. I'm a 12 handicaps hack. But really great swing. His results didn't win the whole thing. Jimmy did. But again, here's a guy that said, oh, it was a tremendous experience. And what an opportunity would have opened up. But I'm, doing commercial real estate now, and I'm off it. He didn't have to win. He wanted to. They all had the same drive, but some people are out of their minds committed to that win. Do you see that difference of the performers or contestants while they're participating?
Yeah, I would say even with Bree, who won, like Bree was a good player.
Yep.
But she had never done anything exceptional on our tour. And if you had like lined up the girls and been like, Bree's going to win at the beginning, I would have been like, no, she's not.
Right.
Right. But I think she needed to win. And I think her winning helped catapult her more. It helped give her some confidence to continue the good streak, going into tours and stuff like that. And I think like deep down, she needed to win.
It must've been, did you know that you're going to see Bree at the reunion show or no?
Yes, we were living together.
So we didn't talk. We kept it apart, and then we showed up. Hey, no, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah. I mean, first of all, you two guys were awesome. Your personalities come through. I agree with you about Bree, and it's a great segue into our word association, because the first thing I want to talk about was Bree and Kelly, that pair, and the awkwardness of Donald Trump saying, by the way, and then Vince really with not condescending, that's not fair, but with a kind of, you have to get over it. And, I don't know how that played out live, if there was 15 takes and Vince, you got to say it harder than, or if it just came out that way. But he was like, hey guys, you know what? There's nobody to switch with. And folks, for you listeners and viewers, I know most of you guys know this already, but in the show that Ashley was on Trump National, you remember the senior tour guys could have won senior exemptions and the LPGA exemptions for the ladies. They paired up at the beginning, and I believe you had Gary was your partner early on, right? Mm-hmm. And so they all got paired up, and Bree was paired up with Kelly, and she had a choice. They had a choice. They can secret ballot and and I guess it's not secret, but they did it separately. And then Donald Trump actually came out and said, these are the pair. Everybody wants to stay together. It's happy. Everybody's hugging each other. And then, okay, so Kelly and Bree, no. Tell us a little bit about, that was really awkward.
Super awkward. And that was not a retake. That was like, they just kept filming. That none of that was like, okay, that wasn't said right, or start over again. It was in time what was happening, and it was like you couldn't even lift your head because it was so awkward to watch. But at the same time, we had all been around each other for all this amount of time, and even if your partner was bothering you and not like, the type of player that you wanted or needed or whatever it was, I personally was like, okay, well, who am I going to try? Who would I want to like switch to? I wouldn't want to, like Bree, I already knew Bree wanted to like get rid of Kelly, and I don't want him doing that to me. So I just like took it. But I think that's a lot to say about Bree and her personality, like to be like, this is not working. Like I can't take this guy anymore. And I think she knew none of us were going to switch, but she just kind of like need to just say it out loud.
And by the way, Kelly can play. Kelly was making shots that, he's had a 3-wood from 150 yards, and he's using his term, finessing it against the wind. So it beautifully, sweetly up against the skyline, drops onto the, it was just, he's the weirdest dude I've ever seen in my life. Yep. But that guy can play.
He's so creative.
He was really creative. Thank you for saying that, because that's exactly the word I was looking for. He's a creative guy that can get it done. I felt bad for him at that moment because that was awkward, really awkward for him. And he really didn't say much. He just, and we saw when he was doing his yoga and, on flipping out. And then Bree's like, I think you guys will remember that she's like, we have 10 minutes and you haven't hit a ball yet. And Bree is one of those people that was laser focused. I'm trying to win this thing. This isn't just, we're not on vacation, I think she said here. That was really weird. Was he, he's the next guy. Was he, tell us about Kelly, your impressions of him.
He is such a nice man. I'll say that first and foremost. Like, he's wonderful. And, he always talked about his son and his wife. He is out there as far as like, he doesn't think, like a lot of golfers think. And, he learned from Mo Norman, which growing up, I watched videos on Mo Norman, and my parents sent me to seminars where like I watched, Mo Norman hit golf balls. And he thinks outside the box. And so Kelly is the same way. And he is who he is. He's still that way. He's always on social media, and he's playing golf. He has taught his son to swing just like him. His son has the same mannerisms and ideas of the golf swing and how it should be, and yoga and like a total free spirit that you don't always think you're going to find on a golf course. But I can't say anything bad about him. Like, he is who he is. It's just sometimes personalities, he's like, oh, one love and I love you. And Bree is,
going.
She's not that way.
I say he's a weird guy, but I had a tremendous amount of respect for him. He's unique. And he was authentic. I think you used that word. He was. And by the way, the guy can produce. The funny line, I think Denny said it, or it might have been Jeff. But all these things he's doing, and then he's talking about 300 golf no, I think it was 120 something long drive championships or that he's had in his career. right, he says that, and then the cut to is to Denny or Jeff or whoever said this, and he's like, he's hit 3-4 drives and he hasn't found the golf course yet instead of the fairway. He said the golf course yet, and that was really funny. So, but yeah, I think it was refreshing to see a guy. I mean, I didn't have to see him do yoga actually, but it was refreshing to see that view and those opinions, and not to steal any thunder from the reunion show. But Nikki and him were dynamite TV because he's kind of buying into that thing too. And it's like, oh, and then finally she just gets sick of it. And she blows him up kind of.
I mean, the two of them, when they started and they're stretching and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I'm all about stretching, but he took it to an extreme.
And she got into Eddie, and then it was a different story after that. And we're going to talk all about that stuff. That's why we have to have a separate show, because that was with the Pam stuff, and then just so much different. Donna. I mean, there was a lot of stuff, a lot to cover.
A lot of drama.
So let's talk about. I want to touch on Albert real quick too. I really had he was from the male side. I mean, I was pulling for him. He was talking about in his interview that he just wants to find someone to give him a chance to sponsor him. And I just like an underdog mentality. And I was rooting for him the whole way. Gary seemed like a nice guy, your guy, but I don't know. He was just kind of cocky. They all had you got to have that kind of never say die. I can do mentality to get where these guys are. But I don't know. There's a soft part of Albert that I kind of fell in love with. I don't think I fell in love with Albert, but you know what I mean? And then he's got the cross-handed thing, and who does that besides Will from whatever? But go ahead. Give me a little bit about Albert.
He was, sorry, I was just thinking of a story in the van. He is the most humble person, and just sweet and kind. And I mean, how you described him right there, that's exactly like how he is, just like a soft spoken, wonderful person that really was just looking for an advancement, something to help him get where he was trying to go, that he was having a hard time getting there on his own. And, but really just like a kind soul. And I think he just liked being out on the golf course. He liked being around, these women who he was soft and sweet. And I can say that I don't come across that way. And, but he really enjoyed, being around all of us. And I would have loved to have seen Albert win because, he deserved it as a person.
I can still see, I was watching the clips last night in preparation for our interview, and when he hit that drive that ended up on the cart path.
Yeah.
I think I'm saying this right. Sometimes these run together, but his face, he just keeps staring. He's finished, right? And he's holding his finish, and it's almost like disbelief that he can't believe that he just did that. And he's holding, and he's just staring like it's all coming to him like that this may be over. And then he gets his stuff together. But I think somebody on the side of the, one of you guys watching said like, yeah, he's on the cart path, and it's rolling between the carts or something like that. Somebody said something about that. It's like, oh no, trouble for Albert. Well, I hope he's doing well. Like we've reached out to him here from the podcast. We haven't heard from him, but I'm hoping to. I haven't given up on Albert yet.
Yeah, don't give up on him.
No, I won't. All right, so let's talk about your performance. I was really impressed with you. I'm going to tell you, and this is going to be all over. It's not going to be on a specific in or any order, but a couple things. One is the downhill. You start there, you're out, you're done for the day with a nice chip. You get partnered up with Gary. What was that like, by the way? Did you guys get along? Did you seem like you guys were pretty good together?
Yeah, he was. He and I were fine together. I think. He, like, behind the scenes, I think he wanted to be the one like making the shots or like saving the team or however it was. And I guess I did too, but then I was doing it. He wanted to be like the alpha.
Yeah.
But he was fine. I mean, I think in the reunion, it kind of exploded on him, but I was fine with him.
Well, I mean, if you're going to be partnered with Cindy Miller, you don't want to be. And then, when Moose, he's walking behind Moose when he was, I mean, he didn't fare well in the,
No.
he did get his moment to shine. He hit one from the bunker, and that was his shot of the thing.
Yes.
When he was with you, though, I have to say you guys started off pretty good, and I'm paraphrasing all this. I think, you did a good job with that long putt that went on forever, right?
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah.
you ended up with immunity from that, I believe, from that deal. I think where he failed you was the chipping. That, like, he only got 2 points from the men's chipping thing. And it's like, what? But then I got to tell you, Ashley, you went on fire, like with the chipping, because not the women not necessarily were producing as consistent. And the way they cut yours, it was like short one, next one, the side hill, and I don't know how you hit that, by the way, 6-inch grass, throwing I'm like, I'd hit the hosel, go sideways and hit somebody, they throw me out. But you went right through those, and even the last one, I think the fourth one was it was the bunker. I don't remember, but you were just like 2 inches outside the circle. It was you. You must have been feeling really good then, right?
Yeah, I liked the big break because it gave me an opportunity to showcase what I could do, where it wasn't just like, oh, what'd you shoot? Like, it's fun to be able to have those weird chips that you can hit, that you're not, even if you're hitting them in a tournament, it's not like everyone's watching them and seeing them. So I liked that. I grew up with my brother and a bunch of guys playing golf. So guys are always creative when it comes to short games and all that stuff. So you just kind of have to learn to adapt. So it was kind of like getting to do all the trick shots that you practice at home when you're bored and you don't really want to be practicing something, and you got to do them on TV instead.
So tell us about the glass break. So as our viewers and listeners know, you smashed your glass on the second shot. Mm-hmm. Tell us about, I mean, it's a punch shot, but it's, again, all the pressures that you're dealing with. You get out there, you see it. Was it bigger, farther away, closer than you remember, or would you guessed? Was the sound as great as it sounds to us on home because we all want to do it?
Yeah. So fun. So fun. I love like a low punch shot, when you're in trouble and people think you're screwed and whatever. Yeah. I think it's such a good shot to have in your bag. So I was excited, but I was like, I'm going to hit it in the first shot. Like, that's just how I think. Right. So I could say that I was definitely like mad at myself for missing the first one, but it's as good as you think it is. The sound and hitting it and the glass and all that, super fun.
So then something interesting happens. It's a par 5. I think they separated the men and women, three people team. It's you and Bridget and I don't know who else. And then Bridget forgets to count. Right? Mm-hmm. She doesn't know how many clubs she has or what. Tell us about what she was saying. They didn't take it out. Since when does anybody else in charge of your bag?
Yeah. No, it's no one's in charge of your bag. You're in charge of your bag. So that was just kind of, I think, like deflecting. And instead of being, saying I screwed up, she was making excuses or embarrassed for like what had happened. But it happened. I mean, even though we're on a show and we're not playing tournament golf, it's the rules of golf. Like, you can't have the extra clubs in there. So,
and she had an extra driver, did she say?
Yeah, she had 2 drivers. So I don't know if it was like she was trying one of the clubs that we got. I'm not really sure why she had 2 in there, but it was not the best timing to leave a driver.
That's a 2-stroke penalty, and you guys. What I thought was funny is you're like taking a shot, and I think you said or somebody said, "What was that for a 10?" Like, you had the right mindset. You're not winning it, so you kind of laughed it going through. At least Kelly, by the way, in reunion, he had like 7 wedges. He didn't.
Oh my gosh!
He didn't have 14. He had like 26 clubs in his bag.
He had like 40 clubs in his bag.
It's unbelievable. He didn't care about. He didn't have 1 extra.
That's right.
So head to head, then comes the battle, and I'm skipping along. I apologize for you guys that are chronological freaks. Men are going against the women, and they're picking who's number 6 and who's got this hole and that hole. And Kelly, who's hole 7? And they go to the men, and Kelly says, they hired me to handle that hole. And then they looked at the women and said, who's hole 7 on this side? And Ashley says, that's me. And they hired me to beat you. And I laughed out loud when it happened, when I saw it on TV. I laughed last night looking at it over again. That's like, it's so perfect because Kelly is so polished and so unique, and he thought his line was great, and you just took his line and just stepped on it and just went, this is funny. This
It's one of my favorite things to do to people.
Was that a single take that just happened? I mean, the Golf Channel has to love that you said that, by the way, because
yes. None of the stuff that we filmed was ever like, oh, wait, hold on, say this. It was all, the first day you're aware that the cameras are around you. And then after that, you just totally forget it. And you just say whatever, you don't care. But that's my personality. To this day, if I show up on a tee box and someone says something to me, I'm going to be like, you're about to get your ass handed to you. So just forewarning. That's how I am. So, some people don't like that, but me.
So you end up playing Kelly, and let's talk through this a little bit. You stripe one right down the middle, by the way, and uncharacteristic in my view, but although there was times when Kelly was inconsistent, right? And especially with the driver, he was, the big bomber, but he was kind of putting it in the junk sometimes. This case, he did put it in the junk, and he ended up getting back in it somewhere. He made a really good shot into the green. I remember that. You take out that 3-wood, and there's questioning all over the place. What is she doing? And the men all know she needs an 8-iron right here to lay up. And you said, as cavalier as somebody said, would you like a candy? You just were like, this is what I like. This is how I do it. This is me. This is why deviate from who I am. Is that fair? Is that what kind of you? Was?
I'm never, trust me, it, as we saw, it doesn't always work out in my favor, but I'm an aggressive player. I am still that way when I play now, even when I shouldn't be. Like if I have 215 yards into the hole, I'm not going wedge. Like I'm busting a 3-wood. And sometimes it doesn't work out and sometimes it does.
Well, who I am. You end up having the hole, which is fine. And if you put the ball to the fringe with your thing, you would have won the hole, maybe. But Kelly made a great comeback. So why not give the risk reward? I think is, I don't necessarily think you can take your foot off the gas pedal, and that's kind of some cases you do, and some cases there's an argument both ways, I guess. But here's the shot I wanted you to touch on. Where you left your ball was, and if I remember correctly, was in deep rough. And you had to get over a bunker to a downhill green. Is that not right?
Yeah.
That might have been one of the best shots of the whole show. I mean, that was pretty incredible. I was thinking, as I watched this, I did not have a recollection of what happened. And I just went, oh, poor Ashley, because this is going to end up like 50 feet either in the bunker or 150 yards, past the hole. And you put it, I think, on the fringe. I mean, I think it stayed on the fringe and downhill. That, when you went and saw where your ball was it like, oh, well, Mr. Trump, could you come over with a wedge? Because I'm not.
Wedge over here, please. I didn't leave myself in the most ideal of situations. If I remember, I was like, I pushed it right?
Yes.
And, but watching Kelly and seeing how he can pull like these magical shots out in golf. Like I want to beat him, but you have to have like a match play kind of mentality on that one hole. Right. And I didn't want to tie him. I wanted to beat him and I wanted to put an exclamation point on it. But it was a bad lie. It was down and the rough was super thick. And I actually don't remember if Donald Trump was there at that time or not. But, I don't want to say I got lucky. I just had I got some club face on the ball, and it ended up like where I needed it to end up. Obviously, had I gone wedge, probably would have been a little different story. But
well, there's definitely luck in that shot. But let me tell you something. There's luck, and there has to be talent, because my luck would have been that I found it wherever it went. That would have been lucky.
Well, I had a lot of people there to find the ball.
Yeah. There was a lot of talent in that. You had to land it. You landed it early. The green was wide, but just to even keep it on the green was amazing to me.
Yeah, my swing coach at the time, that he was big into like bunkers and flop shots, and being able to hit those kind of shots and get yourself back into play when needed. We worked a lot on that for like tournament play. So I think that definitely came in and helped me out there.
That was amazing. So before we get into the final match that you unfortunately were eliminated in against Bridget, you mentioned Mr. Trump. Was he as frequent visitor to the course as it seemed in the show? Because it seemed like, he's out there with a golf shirt on, then he's out there with a suit. I mean, this guy seemed like he was around, right? Was that the case? He was there
every day. There was not a day that we did not see him.
Wow, that's amazing. That you figured.
And then we saw Melania was out one day, and then the son was an infant, so they all came out maybe for like Sunday brunch or something to the golf course. So, but yeah, he was there every single day, very involved.
Did you interact with him at all, or did you?
Yeah,
what did you think? What did you think about him?
If you can play golf, or if you can talk golf, you were in. That's all he wanted to do, was talk about golf. He didn't want to talk about anything else other than golf and what are you doing? Yeah, the course and how beautiful it is. It's the best golfers you've ever been.
In the entire universe, it's the best.
Yeah, ever. He just wanted to talk about golf and all the golfers that he knew. And do you know so-and-so? And do you know so-and-so? It was, strictly golf, friendship and strictly golf, conversations, but he was definitely there and involved in everything that was going on with the Golf Channel.
Cool. So, you end up with an elimination match against Bridget, and I'm saying, this is going to be pretty good because Bridget can play and Ashley can play, and I can't wait for this. She's going to outbomb Bridget in my mind with the drive, but let's see what happens here because this should be good. And then I keep watching, and the first thing you say was, I've been waiting to play Bridget to knock her out. And I'm like, where? I didn't know there was any animosity there, but your face